Okay, so last week I made a reel talking about camera passcodes. Will there ever be a time where we're unlocking our camera using a passcode? And then I started thinking after I made that video about the future of cameras. What kind of features are we gonna see in the future? Will we see things that we haven't seen before in cameras? And I'm just gonna talk about them in this video. So back then, when the transition was happening from film to digital, manufacturers' main priority and main focus was photographers.
Drop in the film, get yourself a flash cube, pop it on, take one.
Year after year, they would make their cameras even better with more photography features, better photography specs. All the way up until today, camera manufacturers have constantly put better features into our cameras, better specs, that it doesn't really matter what camera you're shooting with now. You can be shooting with a phone and it can still take amazing photos. But over time, with social media and this transition from photo to video, camera manufacturers have shifted their focus towards video. We've gotten some amazing video features. We went from originally shooting at 480p to 1080p to 4K, 6K, and 8K. We can shoot in faster frames per second. It's no longer just 24. We can now shoot in 120, 240, and it's getting pretty crazy considering these are all just consumer cameras. We're not talking about cinema cameras here. And all of this got us to the point where we're at now, where cameras have gotten so good for photo and video that the upgrades we're seeing year after year are not so significant. Like, I think the biggest change that we've seen recently, or like revolutionary upgrade, has been the Sony A9 III being the first full frame mirrorless camera with global shutter, which is just amazing. But that camera is $9,000. It's not for everyone. 9,000? 6,000? Something like that. You can buy a $2,000 Sony FX30 or a Lumix S5 II and make it look comparable to a $10,000, $20,000 cinema camera. You won't get the same I/O and the same features, but in terms of video quality, what the viewer actually sees, they're pretty comparable. So what kind of features can we see in the future, and where are camera manufacturers shifting their focus to next? Well, it's actually already happening. Manufacturers have already noticed a huge shift in their consumers, who's buying their cameras, and that is content creators. They actually mentioned this at the CP Plus Expo last year in Japan, but we've been seeing this change happening right in front of our eyes. Canon, Sony pushing their new cameras specifically made for content creators, like Sony with their ZV-E10, their ZV-10, and their ZV-E1. Z literally in ZV means Generation Z. So knowing that and knowing where cameras are going in the future, I actually have a few things I thought about, features that I think we can actually see, like a high chance that we can see in the future of cameras, with the first one being posting to social media directly from the camera. I know that this feature would change a game for creators who are already creating content on their cameras, and I don't think we're far off. We can already send files from our camera to our phone using manufacturer apps, but I think there will actually be a link directly to Instagram or directly to TikTok, wherever you're posting to, within the camera. We're seeing this with Frame.io, with Fujifilm. They have that little partnership where you can send files over, but I definitely can see a link direct to Instagram and direct to TikTok. Now, obviously you're not gonna sit there and type captions on your camera. Maybe something like where you click post and it sends it from your camera directly to Instagram and like adds it as a draft, and then you just add a caption later. Number two, and probably the biggest one, direct live stream from your camera to Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Live streaming has become huge lately, and people actually using professional cameras to live stream rather than using webcams. And over the past years, we've seen cameras getting more capable of connecting to your computer, live streaming at 4K 30 frames per second, but you still need that cable. In the future, cameras streaming direct to TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram straight from your camera with no cables, nothing wirelessly. Number three, just more features in general that will help content creators create better or make their life a little bit easier. For example, the ZV-E10, I believe the ZV-E1 can do the same thing. They have a product showcase mode. So let's say I wanted to showcase my phone and I hold my phone like this. The focus is still gonna be on my face because it is in frame, but it's not gonna focus to my phone. For it to focus on my phone, I'd actually have to cover my face for it to focus. The ZV-10 and ZV-1 had a product showcase mode that it doesn't matter if you hold your phone out here or any product out here, it will shift focus to this. And lastly, I truly think that we do need to start adding some sort of protection or security for our cameras. They're super expensive. Like, we have passcodes on this, but not on our cameras. And I know passcodes can be a complete inconvenience for a lot of people. The last thing you want to do is pull up your camera for a shot and then, oh, sorry, I gotta unlock it first. Like, it would be a major inconvenience, but I think there's ways of doing it where maybe you have like a fingerprint scanner in the shutter button. So, you know, I already lift up my camera like this with my finger on there and it will just automatically unlock. Now, will this prevent theft? No, but something like Find My iPhone, make Find My Camera, where there's a GPS in there through the Sony app or through the Canon app. You can track your camera where it is, and you can also disable it. And disabling it would be really cool, just stops, you know, the camera from working. There's no features. You know, if we don't make the passcodes work, I think that is something that we should really have in our cameras. But that's it. Let me know down in the comments if you think of any cool features that you think would be super cool for the future. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.